safety protocols and expectations. Please wear a mask at all times before, during, and after the meeting while on school and district grounds. If you do not have a mask, one will be provided for you. Seating is set up to ensure that everyone remains 6 feet apart. If you came with someone from your household, we ask that you leave the appropriate space between yourselves and others. Our meeting space is set up for individual seating. Please do not remove any of the tape for the areas that are blocked off to help us maintain the recommended distancing. Public comment cards and meeting agendas are located outside the auditorium on the marked table. Once you fill out a comment card, please submit this in the drop box next to the comment cards. Our board assistant will collect the cards when I call for public comment and deliver them to our board secretary, Ms. Lewis. I will call down each individual one at a time to address the board at the presentation table. Again, we ask that you wear your mask during the comment period. We also have interpreters working remote. If you need this assistance, please let us know, as we have staff present to support this at the top floor of the auditorium. On behalf of our superintendent, Dr. Ledrian Roby, and the Board of Education, thank you for being here in attendance with us. All right, with that, I will call this public hearing to order. This evening is Monday, June 21st. Ms. Lewis, will you please call the roll?
Yes. Ms. Williams, Dr. Baker, Ms. Davies,
Here.
Davis, Dr. Flores,
Present.
Ms. Grant,
Present.
Ms. Lewis is here, Reverend Matias, Mr. Ross, President Jackie.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to our special order of business, our 2021-22 proposed budget overview. Welcome, Mr. Oberst.
Thank you, and good evening, President Shatke, Superintendent Dr. Roby, and Board of Education members. This is our required public hearing for the fiscal year 21-22 budget that we reviewed with you, the board, last week. And remind you, there's no action to be taken on the budget at this time. That will occur on the board meeting following this public hearing. So I am going to invite up our finance director, Ms. Rhonda Krebs, who is intimately involved, as you know, in the preparation of the budget every year, and she will go over a few slides to summarize the budget to the public here. Rhonda?
Good evening, Dr. Roby, President Shatke, and other board members.
Good evening. Good
I
evening.
feel like you're behind me on these two slides.
We're here.
We're here to hold, as Larry said, here to hold our annual budget hearing. We've prepared a brief presentation before we open it up for public comments. So, if I can. Our revenue assumptions that we used in this budget included for our state aid membership revenue projection. It's based on a foundation allowance increase of $250 per pupil. This will bring our foundation allowance up to $8,361, up from the $8,111. The other major component of the membership revenue calculation is the number of students. So in this, we're using a blended enrollment of 14,000. Sorry, I forgot my reading glasses, but 212. So this is a return to the traditional 90-10 blend, with 90% coming from the fall count and 10% coming from the previous year's spring count. So it's always a little bit confusing about what counts are used, but one way to remember it uses calendar year counts. And the big part of that is we're returning to the traditional 90-10 count rather than the super blend that we used for 2021. Our two largest state categorical grants, Section 31A and GSRP, are budgeted at similar levels as they are for 2021. Our federal title grants are budgeted at our preliminary estimated allocations. We'll receive final allocations in the fall. Also, once the 2021 grants close at September 30th, we'll have carryover amounts that we'll bring in as part of our first budget amendment. We've budgeted 23.8 million of our SR2 allocation. Of that amount, 14.3 is to support the general fund. After we close out our 2021 fiscal year, any unspent allocations from the other COVID funding grants like ESSER Formula, ESSER Ed Equity, and GEAR will be added during Amendment 1. Didn't want to budget them on both sides. Our expense assumptions, the big one obviously is employee wages. We've budgeted a 1% increase. The next to that is that employee health insurance, that hard cap increase is budgeted to a 3.7% increase in January per the state guidelines of the amount that it is. Department budgets are held to 2021 spending levels with a few strategic changes in there. And then, so here's the chart with our general fund budget. It's got the 19-20 final actuals, the amended 2021 budget as we amended it 2 weeks ago for Amendment 2, and our proposed 21-22 budget. Under some of the big changes in there, you'll see the state unrestricted revenue, the significant decrease for the 21-22 budget from our 2021 Amendment 2 budget is that foundation increase. So even though we're budgeting for a $250 per pupil increase, the enrollment loss is significant enough that it actually is a decrease in state unrestricted revenue. Federal restricted revenue line, you'll see the large increase there in 2021, and that is our federal COVID grants. And then in 21-22, as I mentioned, we've only have a portion of our ESSER2 funds budgeted at this time. So as the ESSER2 and ESSER3 dollars become available, that number will likely increase, hopefully in Amendment 1. So our proposed 21-22 total revenue and other financing sources is the $229,889,670. On the expense side, again, one of the larger changes you'll see is in the 2021 total instruction line, and that is due primarily to the technology devices and the hotspot services that we've put into place for 2021. And it's not that we're expecting a decrease, it's just that we don't need to buy as many of those, or it will be coming in with those later fundings with ESSER2 and ESSER3. The other thing in 2021, we were able to use some of those federal fundings to shore up a lot of our curriculum, which we haven't been able to do in a long time. So that was a really nice addition to our 2021 budget. Another one that's a little bit unusual is down under community services. You'll see 2021 is higher than our typical amount. The first round of ESSER grants involved having to do an allocation for the private schools like we do our Title I. So those requirements are not there for ESSER2 and ESSER3. The building improvement lines, you'll see that significant increase in 21-22. That is the federal ESSER2 money that we are planning right now for HVAC projects and roof projects. So our proposed 21-22 expenditures and other financing sources is that $231,973,100. So the proposed revenue less expenditures, or the use of fund balance, is $2,083,430. Here's our fund balance page. Again, you'll see the 3 years. Looking at it, we ended June 30, 2020 at the $10,731,000, or 7.26% of our unrestricted revenue. Our Amendment 2 for 21 is anticipated at 10,873,000 or 7.38%. And our proposed is that 8,789,592 or 6.23%. The assigned fund balance that shows up there is actually our budgeted use of fund balance for the upcoming year. So, I don't know if anybody's got anything to add before we open it up.
Colleagues, do you have any questions or comments about the budget? Great. Ms. Anderson, are you checking on public comment for me? Yes. Okay, great. Okay, looks like we have public comment.
So you're going
Sure, thank you.
I didn't get that one. I'll tell you what.
All right, thank you.
Read this.
Sure, please.
Individuals we call to the speaker table one at a time to address the board during subsequent public comment time. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person. You will need to state your full name before providing your comments. You will then start the timer at the beginning of your public comment time and provide you with a 1-minute notice indicating 1 minute remains. You will need to complete your comment time upon being notified that 3 minutes have passed. Board members do not respond to public comment. Concerns will be brought to the attention of the appropriate staff. We value your input and thank you for sharing with us.
All right, thank you, Ms. Lewis. It's my pleasure to welcome forward Daniel Ellen, I believe it's Schutte. If I said that wrong, please correct me. I understand, I have one of those last names too. All right, good evening and welcome.
Scott.
Oh, thank you. Daniel Ellen Scott, thank you, welcome.
So I state my name.
Please.
I'm a pastor in the city here, Daniel Allen Scott, longtime resident. Can I ask questions or no?
No, it's just meant for public comment, so we listen, but we don't respond.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let me state my sincere gratefulness to all of you for serving the city and our children like you do. I've been a resident in Grand Rapids for over 25 years. I would just like to state my opposition, if indeed GRPS is considering this, to any critical race theory teaching. 1619 project and any other divisive, destructive curriculum that would just seek to divide our city more than it is. I'd also like to speak up for the unborn. This is a picture of what happens to our unborn if they are slaughtered in abortion. I know they're not school age, but certainly they will be if indeed they're allowed to live. And so I'd like to speak up for them. They're just as much Grand Rapidians as we are. So I would encourage you to consider just what's best for our children. And the short term, the long-term future. And I'll be praying for you, not by name, but in general, because I'm concerned for our children as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have no further public comment this evening, so I will adjourn this public hearing, and we will reconvene at 6:30 for the regular meeting of the Board of Education. Thank you very much, everyone.
Justin.
Can use my hand.